Hey guys, welcome back. I am so excited to share this recipe with y'all today. This is something I learned to make while I was in Italy, and it's super versatile. So today we're making homemade gnocchi, which are little potato dumplings that can be used similarly to pasta, but they have an incredibly fluffy and just amazing pillowy texture. They're usually paired with sauces. They can also be made into a dessert with some butter and some cinnamon and sugar and maybe some walnuts, and they're just awesome. But I've also made them out of sweet potatoes and made like a blue cheese sauce, and that is fantastic. But today I'm just doing like the plain old gnocchi, and I'm making a super easy traditional pink sauce, which the bare bones of that sauce is just tomatoes and mascarpone. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get started, we want to cover 2 pounds of russet potatoes, whole, peel on. This will just help reduce the absorption of water. And cover that with salted water and bring it to a boil and cook them until they're tender. So that usually takes about 30 minutes. And once we take them out of the water, let them cool so they're you can touch them, and let's begin to pick the skin off. So it should come off really easily now that they're cooked. We do want to still have warm potatoes when we're working with them. It just helps with when they absorb the flour. It makes them a lot fluffier than if you let the potatoes cool completely. So now that they're peeled, we're gonna go ahead and mash them. My favorite way to mash potatoes for gnocchi specifically is with a potato ricer or with a hand mixer. You can also use a potato masher. I didn't have any of these with me today. I am at a friend's house, and I was the only one at home and I couldn't find anything, so I used a fork, which is really difficult, but it works. You just kind of shave off little bits of potato at a time, and just make sure that you get all of the lumps out, because you don't want to have little lumps of potatoes in your dumplings. You don't want to overwork your potatoes and get them dense and gluey. So once everything's finished, we're going to add 1 egg and just mix this up really well and get it fully incorporated. I've gone ahead and I've measured out about 2 1/4 cups of just all-purpose flour, and you're not going to use it all at once. You just want to add it a little at a time, but flour your workspace here and dump your potatoes out on top. And you're just going to start slowly mixing in the flour and kneading the dough as you go. The amount of flour you end up using is totally dependent on how much water your potatoes absorb, which depends on the cooking process and the humidity in the air as you're working with your dough. So that's why I can't give you an exact amount of flour. It's typically 2 pounds of potatoes to about 2 cups of flour plus some extra for sprinkling. But just until it's not sticky any longer and you can work with it. And you want to make sure that you don't get it too dry and crumbly, because then it'll just fall apart when you try to cook the dumplings. So now we've got it to a really good texture, so I'm going to clean off my workspace here, get all the extra little potato and dough off the bottom. That way when I roll out this dough, it really has nothing to stick to. So you're just going to peel off a chunk and start to roll it into long tubes or snakes. And I make mine about a 1/2 inch thick, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And so just gently roll the dough underneath your hands and spread them out so that it just kind of like evenly spreads out this dough very gently. And then you're going to take your knife and just cut them into 1/2 inch to 1 inch size dumpling. And then you can roll them along the tines of a fork and just create those traditional ridges that you see in gnocchi. But that's really an optional step. I typically don't do it because I've never noticed that they really stay. But do that, and then you just want to sprinkle your dumplings with flour and place them onto a floured tray as you continue to work with your dough and continue to make the rest of your dumplings. You really want to work as quickly as you possibly can, because as you work with your dough, the potatoes are absorbing more moisture from the air, so just keep that in mind. Now I have my same water that I boiled my potatoes in, so it's salted and it's boiling here, and I'm just going to add a couple handfuls of dumplings. And typically I try to keep my water not at this rolling of a boil because it can break up the dumplings, but it started out a little bit hot. These cook in about 30 seconds, so cook really quickly, and once they start to float to the top is when you'll just scoop them out. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop these out here, and I've got a little bowl here that I'm going to toss them in some olive oil and just lay them out on a sheet or on a tray to cool. So I'm just going to continue to cook my dumplings here. You just want to make sure that you don't overcrowd the pot, because then they can stick together and you're going to drop your temperature too much, just as when you cook anything. So for this sauce, I am going to go ahead and add some garlic and some shallots to my sauce. You don't have to do this. This is optional, but I mean, come on. What could be wrong with this? So I'm peeling. These are pretty small cloves of garlic. I probably would have done about 4 big ones, but I love garlic, so it ended up being about 8 small ones. So 8 fine, so let's say we're gonna do 4 cloves of garlic, and then 1 kind of largish shallot. And so just go ahead and cut it in half, leaving the root intact, and peel it off just like how we cut an onion. Peel off that outer peel and then slice it. You don't have to do this part if you're not comfortable with cutting your onion that way. And just cut down. And this just creates a really fine dice once you go across. So we're just going to get these cut up and get them sauteing. So I have a nice big saute pan here that has some olive oil and butter, and this is a big enough pan that I can toss the gnocchi in the sauce when it's all finished. So I've melted everything, I've got it all hot, and I'm just going to add in my shallots and garlic and just fry these up until they're golden brown. They're looking good. And then I'm going to go ahead and I've got I have a 14-ounce can of, today I used fire roasted diced tomatoes, but normally I use crushed tomatoes, or I use, if I'm doing a double recipe, I'll use the whole tomatoes and I'll crush them myself. But this is what I had, so it's perfect. Add this in, and we're gonna go ahead and season this up with a little salt, pepper, and I am also gonna add in some red chili pepper flakes, just to give it a little bit of heat. That'll go really well with the mascarpone cheese. Like I said, this is just a really super simple sauce. So a lot of times I do add sausage or something to this, and so I would have rendered that first and then cooked the shallots and garlic in that sausage grease. But I didn't do that today. So here's the mascarpone cheese. So it's just 8 ounces of mascarpone, and this is what makes it a pink sauce. It's just the color, obviously. And this is like one of the simplest sauces that you can make, but it really is super delicious and really versatile. You can add other herbs. I'm going to add some chopped basil to this today, but you can add all kinds of stuff. Like I said, you can add meat, you could even put some chicken in here if you wanted to make this like just another meal, like a whole meal. And you can really just season it in a whole lot of different ways. But we've got some basil. I'm gonna mix this in. You want to kind of add it at the end so it kind of maintains some of its freshness, but I'm also going to top it with some more fresh basil when we're done. So just give it a little taste and season it some more if you need to. I went ahead and added some more black pepper. And now that the sauce is all done, oh, that looks good. We're going to go ahead and add in the gnocchi. So I had this just in some olive oil, just so that they wouldn't stick together. If you can avoid doing that, it's really kind of best. Like if you could just drop it straight from the pot into your sauce, that's ideal. I kind of had to do these in like at different times because I was sharing the kitchen with somebody that was making Christmas cookies. But yeah, it just made my sauce a little bit oily, but that's okay. So just gently stir in your gnocchi and stir the sauce around. You want to make sure that you don't break up your little dumplings. They're pretty delicate, but they're so good. They're just kind of chewy and I love them. Anyway, so this is my homemade gnocchi with pink sauce recipe. I am pairing it tonight with a wood fire grilled steak and asparagus that we did on the campfire outside. It was a beautiful night and it was just absolutely delicious. I hope you enjoy. Like I said, this really is super versatile. You can make this and you can make this be your main meal. You can make this be an appetizer. It could be just a side dish like I'm doing, but just however you want, and you can just kind of tweak it and make it your own and try other sauces. And also I really recommend trying the sweet potato ones. They're really great and really delicious if you glaze them with some maple syrup. Well, y'all have a great night and I will see you soon. Bye. Thank y'all so much for joining me tonight and letting me share my recipes and experiments with you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And I'd love to hear any recommendations you have for what I can cook next, so let me know in the comments below. And please follow me on Instagram and Facebook to keep up with any updates, and share any pictures or comments if you try out one of my recipes. Well, I hope y'all have a super blessed night, and I'll see you soon. Bye!